Institutional investors and tech firms have made it impossible for people to find starter homes. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the fact that both institutional investors and tech firms like Zillow have made it very, very difficult for people to find starter homes to live in. Okay, so basically what these groups are doing is Zillow was going out, they were doing what they call iBuying, right? They were buying people's homes sight unseen, and then they were trying to flip them. And, you know, it didn't work for them as a business model. And what they ended up doing was they sold the thousands of homes that they bought to these giant institutional investors like Blackstone, who are turning them into single family rentals. So this is a problem because, one, it drove up real estate prices in a lot of markets, and it brought the prices up so high that a lot of people, they couldn't even get into a home that when they used to be able to afford one. But the other issue is that, simply put, if your model is to flip these houses and then rent them out, you know, it's taking, you know, it's basically reducing the number of properties that are available for sale. And, you know, that is creating a huge issue. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of these large institutional investors or tech firms buying up a lot of real estate. Okay, they're basically doing house flipping, the same thing that myself and other small landlords have done, but they're doing it on a really big scale. And I can tell you that it has affected the way that a lot of landlords have to do business, because they're not able to find properties like they used to, and, you know, find investments. So the smaller landlords who own fewer than 10 properties, or, you know, even fewer than 100 properties, they're struggling to find new properties just to rent out. And these corporate landlords, they run things a lot different than a lot of small landlords do. You know, they're not as willing to work with the tenants, you know, so it can be a bad deal for tenants. They also charge much higher rents, but that's another story. Anyway, this article, it's coming from Bloomberg Business, and it says, Wall Street is using tech firms like Zillow to eat up starter homes. Whew, let's see what it says. Zillow Group Inc. spent last year aggressively expanding a home flipping operation designed to make the $2 trillion U.S. real estate market better for consumers, until a bad bet on home prices pushed the company to pull the plug. As it shuts down the operation, Zillow's efforts to sell off its inventory of thousands of homes has highlighted a little-noticed truth about the business, called iBuying. The tech industry's attempts to simplify the process of selling a house depend on flipping properties to some of the biggest names in global finance. A Bloomberg News analysis of more than 100,000 property records shows that Zillow and two other biggest iBuyers, Open Door Technologies Inc. and OfferPad Solutions Inc., are selling thousands of homes to landlords backed by KKR and Company, Cerberus Capital Management, Blackstone Inc., and other large institutions. In many cases, those properties are never even listed, further squeezing average buyers out of competitive housing markets. Yeah, a lot of buyers, they're not able to even find a house to buy. Okay. And 2 out of 10 homes flipped by the iBuyers last year wound up with investors and other entities, and the rate is double that in some Sunbelt metro areas where the companies are most active. What's more, in some of those markets, the flips are happening at a higher rate in communities of color. Now, I don't like where this article is going, basically. So, you know, they're bringing this up as though it's a race issue, but this isn't really a race issue, okay? This is an issue of the real estate companies are looking for houses where they can make the most money the most money possible, and do it profitably. And it just happens to be in those communities where the housing prices are low enough where you can purchase those properties, fix them up, and flip them. And I found that to be the case even on the small scale that I've done things here, where the areas where I have tried to flip houses has been much more diverse than other areas, okay? The transactions raise questions about the role the iBuyers are playing in a housing market starved of affordable properties, both for rent and purchase. A diverse range of U.S. political voices, from the Biden administration to the conservative television host Tucker Carlson, have blamed institutional landlords for crowding out regular families. Populist angst over the role investors play in housing has also expanded from Shenzhen to Seoul and Stockholm to Berlin. And yeah, there's a lot of complaints about this sort of thing, but I think that they will use this sort of thing to attack all real estate investors, okay, myself included. Even though I don't own hundreds or thousands of houses, they will use this to pass laws, like these. I've heard of anti-flipping laws and other legislation to make it as difficult as possible. But I personally believe that flipping houses is a good thing. I don't really see too much that is wrong with this, other than the fact that, hey, we need to build a lot more housing, okay? That is the main issue. There needs to be a lot more starter homes that are being built, instead of them, having to only build the upper middle class and above housing. And that's what I've seen around here. Most of the new housing that's being built, even here in Omaha, Nebraska, is for people who are at least upper middle class. So a lot of people can't afford new housing. And if people can't afford new housing, then they're just stuck, competing over the older housing that's a lot less expensive. So this is creating an affordable housing crisis. And the only way that, this can really be resolved is, they got to start building more starter homes. It just doesn't feel right, said Mike Delptelprete, a scholar in residence at the University of Colorado Boulder who studies iBuyers. These companies go around saying, we're going to help mom and pop and inject liquidity into the market. They don't say, we're going to suck up houses from the ordinary market and sell them to Wall Street. Home flipping is an old business, and investors who buy houses cheaply and fix them up can play an important role in the market by improving outdated properties. The iBuyers brought a tech-powered spin to the idea. Instead of hunting for deeply discounted homes, they use algorithms to buy near the market price, trying to capture a small profit on a large number of transactions. And, the tech spin on it, that's why Zillow failed at this, okay? If they had bought a lot less, bought properties at under market value, much more under market value, and then they brought them up to market value by fixing them up, they could have turned their iBuying into a great thing. If they had just basically been a lot more selective in what they were buying and bought better deals. And so in order to do that, though, they would have needed very good real estate investors on their teams, and I don't think they had that. Honestly, they just thought they could throw a bunch of money at it, because they had billions and billions of dollars. Imagine being a large scale flipper who got thrown just tons of money by investors, and you didn't even know what you were doing, okay? I mean, I could have done a better job myself if I was helping them, and I'm not even a tech person. I just know real estate. I know, you could drop me in any market and I could be like, hey, this isn't going to work, Zillow. You're buying this property for its listed value, and you're not going to be able to add value to it and make a profit, not with all the closing costs and the holding costs, etc. So yeah, of course they lost money. They lost a ton of money, and I'm glad that at least for them it was a pure failure. But there's other companies trying to do the same thing now. Maybe they're doing it with a little bit more knowledge on their side. But hey, I mean, this is absolutely crazy. Now, the whole thing about these large corporate entities like Blackstone, etc., who are buying up houses and turning them into rentals, I mean, this is the nature of the game, okay? This is where a lot of, it's needed. If there wasn't a need, if there wasn't a demand, if there wasn't money to be made, then Blackstone wouldn't have bought a single house, okay? They would still just be doing other sorts of investments. But they saw that, hey, this is possibly the future here in the U.S., where we're going into a future where more people want to rent, more people, when they rent, they want to be renting single family homes, and these are excellent investments. And I can't say I disagree with them, you know? I mean, the hard part about it was the property management, but they seem to have it figured out, you know? I mean, they have single family property management figured out on a large scale, and that's really surprising, but they did it. So, yeah, interesting article. You know, all I can say is that, you know, for now, if you are a home buyer looking to buy a starter home, you know, just keep looking. You might end up having to look further out away from where you live right now and, you know, make some sacrifices in order to find something that you can afford.